Hi and good day. My name is Elvina binti Arun, metric number 299582. Today I will discuss two corruption cases involving immigration and border officers in Malaysia and United States. First is the Malaysia Immigration Counter-Setting scandals that occurred between 2024 and 2026. In this case, immigration officers cooperate with agents through WhatsApp and Telegram. Foreign travelers were directed to specific counters and allowed to enter the country without proper inspections. Basic requirements such as written ticket, accommodation proof, and identity verification were often ignored. As a result, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission or MACC arrested 49 officers and several agents. This case exposed weaknesses in monitoring systems and communication control and whistleblower protection, which created serious risk to national security and public trust. The second case involved Leonard Daniel George, a former U.S. Customs and Border Protection officer. He accepted bribes to allow drug-related vehicles and illegal travelers to cross the border through a checkpoint in San Diego. By abusing his authority, he helped a criminal smuggling network operate more easily and weakened border enforcement. He was later sentenced to 23 years in prison, showing the serious consequences of corruption in border security. So, although these cases differ in scale, both highlight the dangers of corruption within immigration and border control systems. They demonstrate how unethical actions by officers can be exploited by criminal groups, threaten national security, and reduce public confidence in government institutions. Thank you.
This section compares the Malaysian counter-setting case with the United States land setting case. There are several similarities between the two cases. Both involve border enforcement officers abusing their authority for personal financial gain through bribery. They also use digital communication platforms to coordinate illegal activity and collaborated with external actors such as agents and criminal organizations. Most importantly, both cases violated fundamental ethical principles, including integrity, accountability, and public trust, while creating serious threat to national security. However, there are also important differences. The Malaysian case mainly facilitated illegal immigration, while the US case involved drug trafficking operation. The scale of corruption, the nature of misconduct, the legal outcome, and the enforcement approach also differs significantly between the two countries.
Today, I will discuss the similarity between the Malaysia counter-setting case and the US land setting case. Although these cases happen in different countries, they share many common patterns. First, the both cases show how the public officials choose the personal benefits over their responsibility. Instead of protecting their country border, they use their positions to help the people break the rule. Another important similarity is that the money played a major role in influencing their decisions. The officials were willing to take the risk and ignore the regulation because they wanted the financial reward. We can also see how the technologies make the corruption easier. The communications app allows the information to be shared quickly and secretly, making the activity harder to detect. Besides that, the officials did not work alone. They received the support from outside groups, such as the agents and the criminal organizations, which helped the illegal activity continue for the longer period. The case also shows the failures of professional ethics. As the public servants, they were expected to act honestly and fairly, but their actions damage the trust that the people place in the government institutions. The most importantly, that this action creates the serious risk for national security. When the border control are witnessed, the illegal activity can enter the country more easily and the public confidence in the system decrease.
Although both cases involve corruption at border checkpoints, there are several key differences. In Malaysia, the corruption scheme mainly facilitated illegal immigration by allowing foreign travelers to bypass standard immigration procedure. The case involved multiple immigration officers and agents with bribes ranging from 200 to 2,500 per traveler. In contrast, the US case involved a single border protection officer who assists drug trafficking operation and authorized border crossing. The officer received much larger bribes, reportedly up to $17,000 per vehicle, Furthermore, the case resulted in a complete federal conviction and 23-year prison sentence. Another major difference lies in the nature of corruption and the enforcement response. The Malaysian case reflects systemic corruption because it involved multiple officers and agents operating within a border network. As a result, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, focused on large-scale investigation to identify and dismantle the anti-corruption network. On the other hand, the United States case was centered on a single officer who collaborated with drug cartels for personal gain. Therefore, the authorities emphasized strict federal prosecution, leading to a lengthy prison sentence as a deterrent against similar misconduct. Overall, the Malaysian approach focused on addressing institutional corruption, while the United States focused on individual accountability and punishment.
Hi doctor, my name is Ekarat Analaki Kamnun with matrix number of 303797. And now we have understood the background of both corruption cases, and I will analyze them by using three ethical theories, which is utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. These theories are going to help us to evaluate whether the actions of this officer is ethically acceptable from the different perspective. First of all, it is utilitarianism, which has developed by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. This theory stated that an action is ethical if it creates the greatest good for the greatest number of people, and it is unethical if it has causes the greater harms to society. In these Malaysia cases, immigration officers accept the bribes allowing the illegal immigrants to bypass normal procedure. In United States case, the border protection officer Leonard Daniel George had accepted the bribes to allow the drug-laden vehicles and unauthorized individuals to enter the authority. Although the officers had gained a personal financial benefits, the consequences had included the weakened border security, which had increased the criminal activities and losses of public trust. And therefore, under the utilitarianism, both cases are considered as unethical because it has harm to the society and it outweighed the benefits to the individual that involved. Well, the second theory is deontology. It is introduced by the philosopher named Immanuel Kant. And unlike utilitarianism, deontology, it focuses on whether the people had fulfilled their duties and responsibilities regardless of the consequences. As it's shown in the comparisons tables, both officers of a country had failed to carry out their core responsibilities. They had violated the law and abused their authority and accepted bribes instead of protecting their nation's border. From a deontological perspective, these actions are unethical because public officers had a duty to uphold the integrity, fairness, and the law, and both cases already clearly stated that they had violated these moral obligations. Well, now finally, for the virtue ethics, which is founded by Aristotle, it focuses on an individual moral character rather than the rules or consequences. It emphasizes or focuses on virtues such as honesty, integrity, responsibilities, and fairness. However, the behavior had demonstrated in both cases is opposite to the values, which the both officers from both countries had displayed greed, dishonesty, and abuse of their power by prioritizing the personal financial gain over the public service and national security. Well, as a result, both cases are considered as unethical under virtue ethics because they had failed to demonstrate the moral characteristics expected from the government and law enforcement officers. So, to summarize for this part, all three ethical theories had reached the same judgments. Under utilitarianism, both cases had caused the greatest harm than good. And under deontology, the officers had failed to fulfill their professional duties. And under virtue ethics, they had demonstrated a lack of integrity and a moral character. And therefore, both of the Malaysians and the US cases can be considered as clear example of unethical behavior that undermine the public trust and national security. Thank you.
My name is Sigrinsa Anak Perempuan Atom, and now I will conclude our analysis. Both the Malaysian counter-setting case and the United States land setting case show that corruption among border officers can seriously threaten national security, public trust, and institutional integrity. Although these cases differ in scale, the core issue remains the same, which is the abuse of authority for personal gain. In Malaysia, the issue is more systemic, involving many officers and weak supervision. In contrast, the US case involved a single officer, but with more severe consequences linked to drug trafficking and organized crime. However, both clearly show that when integrity fails, border systems become vulnerable. From an ethical perspective, both actions are unacceptable. They cause more harm than benefit, violate professional duty, and reflect negative traits such as greed and dishonesty. Overall, corruption is not only an individual issue, but also an institutional problem. Therefore, strong governance, strict enforcement, and ethical awareness are essential to prevent it. In the end, no matter how advanced a system is, it will fail without integrity, because true security depends on the people behind it.
Good day to Mr. Raju. My name is Lim Kashan, metric number 30354X. Now I will presenting about the ethical lessons. The first ethical lesson is betrayal of public trust and national security. The core issue here is corruption amongst border officials in Malaysia and the United States. There are three key lessons. First, official abuse authority for personal gain. Second, rebus allows illegal immigrants, drugs, and contraband to bypass security. Third, direct harm to national security, public safety, and the institutional credibility. The key takeaways is great at the border, undermines trust in governments, and endangers community. The second ethical lesson is the danger of certain normalization, which is also called cartel culture. The core issue here is corruption become routine and normalized within workplace culture. There are three key lessons. First, in Malaysia, cartel-like networks pressure new officials join corruption schemes. Second, use of secret crows like schoolboy, lembu, and durians disguise bribery as casualties. Third, in the United States, corruption spread within the San Diego office, showing how misconduct can replicate. The key takeaways is without ethical leadership and accountability, corruption can embed itself into organizational culture, eroding integrity across the system. That's all for me. Thank you.